What's going on, Star Wars fans? Welcome to another episode of Star Wars Doctrine. I was pretty excited to make this video today. A lot of stuff's been coming out about the Mandalorian recently with some new pictures, a new article from Entertainment Weekly, which was just beautifully done, giving us a lot of exciting details and things like that to talk about. So naturally, I was incredibly excited to, get recording and talk about some of this stuff with you guys. Obviously, I've been posting a lot about it over on Instagram and Facebook, and tons of awesome comments from you guys and discussions and things. And there's just so much to be excited for right now, especially with that show coming out and, of course, all of the other things going on with Star Wars. But wanted to dive into some of this Mandalorian stuff because if you've been following the channel for a while on our pages, you know how incredibly excited I am for this show. And each time they release something new about it, I get more excited because it just seems like they're heading in the right direction with everything. Like, I have really high hopes, and I don't think I'm going to be disappointed. And a lot of that has to do with my faith in, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. But, let's dive into some of this. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of it, and if it's the first time, then cool too. But here's a couple of quotes that I want to read to you guys from the Entertainment Weekly. They break down, tons of new information on the characters, a little bit about the storyline. It's just really cool. So this is one thing that everyone's been talking about that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni said. This doesn't turn into a good guy universe because you blew up 2 Death Stars. Mandalorian director Dave Filoni quipped, talking about, obviously, this picking up after Return of the Jedi. You get that the rebels won, and they're trying to establish a republic, but there's no way that could have set in for everybody all at once. You have in a Western where you're out on the frontier, and there might be Washington, and they might have some marshals, but sometimes good luck finding one. So they're kind of talking about how, yes, the Empire fell, the rebels won, but everything didn't get better overnight. And honestly, as we know, it really didn't get all that better. Maybe from the Jedi and Sith point of view, the balance was restored. But the Republic itself, trying to reestablish, and if you've played the Battlefront 2 campaign, then you know that there's still a lot of resistance going on as they try to form a new government. If you've read any of the canon novels, you find out a lot of the politics that go into trying to reform the Republic is actually really hard, and there's a lot of people who are resisting and wanting to make it difficult. So they go on to say this. Also, what could happen in 30 years between celebrating the defeat of the Empire and then the First Order? Teased showrunner Jon Favreau. You come in, and the First Order are not just starting out. They're pretty far along. They're pretty well equipped. So somehow, things weren't necessarily managed as well as they could have been in the galaxy, and the galaxy ended up in hot water again, just like that. So this is exciting because they're talking about how, hey, we got a time period that has relatively been unexplored on screen. And the fact is they have a lot that they can do with it. And they want to talk about how we got from winning to 30 years later, the First Order is kind of overpowering everyone. And that's something I've been so interested in ever since The Force Awakens came out, because I really felt kind of weird going into The Force Awakens movie and there's this big power in the universe that's, already here and already built up. It's kind of weird that the last movie I watched, we won, and now all of a sudden, oh crap, we're on the run again. It felt like there was a discontinuation between the original trilogy and these sequels, just because there was so much time gap. And I get it. You couldn't really just pick up where we left off. Everyone's older. We waited so long to make these. So I get that. But I just have been wanting to get more and more information. And they've done that. They have the Resistance cartoons. They've had books and comics and stuff. But how cool is it going to be to get to see this on screen? And the fact that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau want to explore that a little bit gets me so excited. Thinking about where they could go with that. There's characters that could potentially make an appearance. I know they've said most of them are going to be new characters, but there's still a lot of characters that I think we could learn more about or could make appearances that we haven't gotten enough of. Phasma's one of them, I think, that was just barely around in the movies and had a lot of potential that they didn't do a whole lot with. And there's potential to maybe get to know her character a little bit before episode 7. The other one that I'm really, really crossing my fingers for is Iden Versio. Once again, if you played Battlefront, you know her story a little bit, and she has a daughter, and I think that their characters, and they're based off of real actresses, so it would be really easy for them to bring in the people to do the acting. I just think it would be so cool if they cross paths, and obviously she's, a rebel at this point, and there's probably millions of characters. If you guys have any cool ideas, I'd love to hear them. But thinking about the characters they could bring into it, even the references they could bring into it, and not to mention Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau obviously did a lot with Mandalorians and Mandalore in the Clone Wars and Rebels. So the fact that we could get some of that's really exciting to me as well. Ultimately, just an awesome time period that I just can't wait to get explored. Something else that was interesting that came out of this was Pedro Pascal shedded a little bit more light on the character of the Mandalorian, and by that I mean like who he is as a person. This is something that I found very interesting because typically a bounty hunter we kind of look at as typically a shady kind of individual, and I was like, how are they going to spin this to him being the bad guy? I kind of in my head envisioned it as like a bad guy who kind of like Han Solo, like he's out smuggling and doing some shady jobs, but ultimately gets pulled into the rebellion because he feels that that's the right thing to do. But I thought this was interesting what Pedro Pascal said. He says, the Mandalorian would prefer to do the right thing, but his duties could very much be in conflict with that. And doing the right thing has many faces. That's really cool because to me that's showing that there's going to be a whole bunch of character development with the Mandalorian in the choices he's making, who he answers to maybe, and I thought the most interesting line on that was that doing the right thing could have many faces, because that's something that could be really cool to explore, the fine lines of what's right, what's wrong, and in whose eyes is what right and what's wrong. And it's just really interesting to me. That answer just got me even more pumped because there's just it sounds like there's not necessarily a fine line like, hey, he's a good guy or he's a bad guy. He's going to be all sorts of over the place, and that's the kind of character that I think Star Wars needs, especially in this time period. So it kind of fits the agenda here. And then in one of the pictures, you can see that he's kind of fighting alongside this new character who is Cara Dune or Cara Dune. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but that's Gina Carano, and she looks like a total badass. Like she's about to throw down in this picture, and I'm like, holy cow, I cannot wait to find out more about who she is. And I can't tell if this is going to be a romance between them or just like a helping each other along the way kind of thing. But Gina Carano said this. She says she's gone from planet to planet. She's a loner. She's strong. She runs into the Mandalorian on one of these planets that she's hiding out on, and she thinks that he's there to take her in. And then their relationship escalates from there. So that's going to be a really fun run-in to see her expecting him to be there to capture her. Obviously, she's probably done some bad stuff. There's apparently a bounty on her head for her to think a bounty hunter's there for her. So I'm interested to see what kind of things she's done in the galaxy. And planet hopping's always really cool. She probably knows a lot about different worlds. She probably has a pretty vast knowledge about a lot of the things going on at the time, so she could be a really fun character to pick her brain. And I don't know, I just think that she fits the part, the Gina Carano. I think it's going to be a really cool character. And once again, like I said, just to find out where the relationship that these guys are going to have together. But seeing them fighting next to each other just looked really awesome. One of the other cool pictures that's shown, and this is funny because I've seen a lot of people commenting this and talking about this, is this picture here where the Mandalorian's fighting two Trandoshans. And I agree, number one, that they kind of look like toys. It kind of looked like action figures fighting, and I thought that maybe that's what it was at first, so they were showing off like the new toy set that was going to come out with them, the new action figures. But it's actually a real shot, and I think that the quality on the image is just so high and so crisp that they kind of look maybe a little fake because, let's be honest, everything in Star Wars, it's fake. the costumes, I just think it's the quality of the image personally, but I think once it's on screen and in movie form, in video form, it's going to look a lot better. But yeah, I totally was thinking like it was toys at first too, but it's a really cool shot and a really cool idea. Trandoshans haven't really been seen on screen, live action, I should clarify, fighting. And they're one of the coolest characters. Obviously, Bosk's the most famous of the Trandoshans. It is specified that this is not Bosk. These are not Bosk, either of the Trandoshans in here, and that he probably will fight a lot that aren't Bosk, which kind of led me to believe maybe Bosk won't make an appearance, even though I really, really want him to. I've been saying that from day one, that he'd be one of the coolest characters to have an appearance from. It's still possible, still hoping. But the interesting thing, too, that I've seen a lot of comments on is that the Trandoshans just look a little different than what we've known them to look like. And I'm not sure if that's the angle here or if that's just the new costume design for them. But I hope that, and that's the other thing, too, is like in Solo, we got a weird-looking Wookiee. So maybe there's just different styles of Trandoshans, different breeds, different species, kind of like, I guess species isn't the right word, but just different, different clans, different looking. I mean, all of us humans look different, so I guess it wouldn't be hard to believe that there's different looking Trandoshans. It's like dogs. Like there's a million different kinds of dogs out there. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just the angles, but we'll see. Either way, it's going to be really cool to have those on screen. Let's see what else we got here. IG-11. So I'm still seeing a lot of people calling IG-11 IG-88. And trust me, I wish more than anything that it was IG-88, because it would just, to me, it would just be, why not? Why not make it IG-88? It just would be perfect. He's the one that makes an appearance in Empire Strikes Back. He's got a lot of love from the fans. But Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau wanted to make their own character, which is totally fine. This IG-11 guy looks totally bad in the trailer. He's gunslinging and looks like he's a friend of the Mandalorians, who still excited to find out what his name is. But IG-11, once again, not IG-88. This quote was said of him is very innocent and naive and direct, and doesn't know about sarcasm and doesn't know how to lie. It's like a child with a gun. So that gave me a couple of vibes, kind of like, the character whose name's escaping me from the new cartoon, which is also escaping me, The Resistance, sorry. And there's that character who doesn't really get phrases, he doesn't get sarcasm. And I thought that was all right. That was kind of fun. But this could be interesting to see on IG-11. Maybe I originally just thought he was just going to be this bad A, hard A kind of guy. But it kind of sounds like he might have more of a fun personality, someone who's a little more the comedy relief. Hopefully not cheesy, just kind of like fun. He could be like a Chewbacca kind of thing, where he provides some fun but not cheesy lines and laughs, I should say. So I'm excited for that. I like having the fun droids. I think that one of the best things about Rogue One was K2, and that's one reason I'm excited for the Cassian Andor series. So IG-11, hopefully he's proves to be something kind of like that quality. Just hoping that he's still, I mean, obviously like we saw in the trailer, he's going to be really bad A and fun to watch on screen. Just be interesting to get to know his personality. Let's see what else we got here. This was a character who made an appearance in the trailer for one of the coolest shots in the trailer and the most intriguing, I would say. This character's name is Moff Gideon, and that's Giancarlo Esposito. And he intrigued me because he's literally standing with a bunch of Death Troopers behind him, and that's really cool because obviously we've seen Death Troopers from Rogue One. We didn't really see them in the Imperial era, at least in the movies. So to get these Death Troopers here is really cool, and it gave me the idea that, okay, he's obviously, from the Empire, and this quote here kind of confirms that. Says he's an Imperial remnant of a very fine officer who then switches to become sort of the guardian of the people. But what does Moff Gideon really want? This guy is going to be a big player because he has an idea of how to keep order. So that gives me the idea that he is kind of working against our heroes maybe in this show, but not necessarily because he's all about the Empire, just because he has his own ideas. He kind of reminded me of a wow, it is not my day for names. Holy cow. But in Rogue One, Rebels, we meet Saw Gerrera, goodness, and he has his own ideas of how things should be, and because of that, he's not really on either side. He's not necessarily a rebel, he's an extremist. He's not obviously not for the Empire either. So I was thinking maybe this is the kind of character we'll get out of him, out of Moff Gideon, which is just really cool. And the fact that he has Death Troopers with him, I'm like, yes, any chance to get Death Troopers back on screen. They were by far one of the coolest of all the new trooper variants that have come out since Disney took over Star Wars. So costume-wise, Battlefront-wise, if you play the game, just everything about them. Their cool little muffled talking that disguises their voices is really cool. So I'm excited for to see him and get to know where he stands, and his character arc probably be pretty fun. And kind of at the end of the article, we get Dave Filoni just kind of recapping that The Mandalorian's going to just be groundbreaking. It's going to be new. It's going to be fun. It's going to be everything we want in Star Wars, but in a totally different way. He says, I've seen a lot of Star Wars, and what's most exciting to me is that I am very confident we did some things, and fans will see things that have never been seen before. That line might scare me coming from anyone else besides Favreau and Filoni. Like, if, Kathleen Kennedy was up there saying it, I might go, okay, well, are we getting too far away from what we love as Star Wars fans? But Filoni and Favreau are two of the biggest Star Wars fans that I really think care so much about the characters, care so much about where the storylines are going. They care about the fans. They're going to not do anything that we're going to hate. Like, I would say at least for the majority of us, because I think as a majority, the fan base loved Rebels and Clone Wars. I think a lot of the things in there, there's probably some stuff we weren't happy with, but at the end of the day, the stories they came up with and the way they added depth to characters was incredible. So to give them this project was the best thing I think Disney's done. And to hear them saying lines like this, I'm like, I trust you guys. I know that when you say it's nothing we've seen before, it's in a good way. And I couldn't be more excited about where this is going to go. Like I said, the costumes, the sets, they look awesome. One thing that intrigues me is that we're on this desert world, which I believe is going to be Tatooine and obviously other worlds as well. But we haven't seen a shot that shows Mandalore yet. And the fact that we might get to see Mandalore live action is going to be really cool to see where Mandalore's at. We got to see it in the cartoons. It's a really cool planet with lots of really cool characters. Who knows if we'll get to have Sabine or Pre Vizsla's, friends, foes, all sorts of people that could make appearances, and these are characters that Filoni and Favreau created, so we know how much they like these characters. Favreau even voiced Pre Vizsla, so it's got a lot of opportunity, and I couldn't be more excited. If you guys haven't checked out the trailer or this article, do it, because you will get pumped like I am. The ships, the scenes, the Mandalorian grabbing the guy by the ankle and pulling him through the door that shuts on him, like, there is so much excitement for this show. I am going to be scheduling when this drops, scheduling time every Thursday for when they're, or whenever they're coming out. It's just going to be, the next big thing for Star Wars is Disney Plus. I mean, there's going to be so much good, and obviously we know what's coming next, Cassian Andor, Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's going to be lots of money poured into this from Star Wars. This is going to be high quality stuff. So I'm so excited. Hope you guys are too, because it's going to give this channel a lot more to talk about as well, obviously. So if you guys have any other further theories, thoughts, questions, please leave a comment. I love hearing from you guys on Instagram, Facebook, here on YouTube. Be sure to give a like to this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel.
It is your destiny.